All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another Silver Apple Award honoree from the Marketing Club of New York. It's me, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of the Board of Directors here at the Marketing Club. And I am with a very special one to our industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I just deemed him Len the Legend Schenker. He has been in our industry for many years. I'm so happy that he's being honored. Ladies and gentlemen, Len Schenker from Anchor Computer. What's going on, Len?
Well, I want to certainly thank the Silver Apple for recognizing myself, our company. It's very rewarding, and once again, thank you.
That's amazing, Len. Nice to finally meet you. I can't believe I haven't met you all these years. I am familiar with Mark, and I really enjoy his company, but I want to get to know you. So, the Silver Apple Awards, as you mentioned, it recognizes long-term impact and leadership in marketing and communications. What does being honored this year mean to you personally and professionally?
Well, it certainly means some recognition as an industry participant for 56 years. So that's an honor, and I certainly want to thank you for the recognition.
It is our pleasure. I'm going to be very excited to have present you with this award in November. So, how did you get into marketing? How did you start this business? What gave you the idea?
So by education, I went to City College, graduated as a chemical engineer, started working in the pharmaceutical industry for 1 year, got fired after 11 months though, and then joined Shell Chemical Company. During that time, we had the Vietnamese War. I had a draft card in my pocket, which if called, I would have gone. But fortunately, I did get married. My wife had a child, which was another deferment. And then I continued on for my master's while working full time. So I had no knowledge that this industry even existed, but I knew the activity would be in computers. Uh, we watched the internet bubble. We're now going through the AI bubble. So I kind of wanted to go where the fad went, just as an example, as plastics with Dustin Hoffman uh, played in the movie, The Graduate.
Hmm.
So I wanted to get into data processing. With Shell, I was studying reports, and they then informed me that after 3 years, I didn't get fired. They wanted me to go to Houston.
Mm,
I passed. My family was in New York on
yeah.
my side, my wife's side, and then I got a position in management consultant. And once again, the objective was studying data. And one day, my brother-in-law introduced me to a fellow who was actually a data processing director of a small apparel company who had a computer. It was a very, very powerful computer, 8K card system, no disk, no tape, and the cards would always get stuck in the machine with the holes. So worked there many, many nights because we had a very small staff. And one day I stopped at a letter shop. It was Accurate Mail in
Mm,
Queens. And they said, can you punch up 50,000 addressograph plates? Probably a lot of people in the room won't know what those are. Um, and they said, well, it had gone through a fire. I said, okay, we'll do it. They said, can you floor support it? So we key punched it up, and then they said, can you print the list for us? No problem. Can you select by zip? Oops, needed to revise the program. Can you select by category? Well, okay, program got bigger. So the program went from a small handful of cards to a handful that you couldn't even hold, and the language became, instead of RPG, became assembler. And that program was the basis for how we really got involved in the industry.
mm,
Then we got in touch with other companies in that business. Dependable List was one of our initial customers and worked with a lot of the list managers and brokers. And we were asked, can we do a merge purge? And we said, sure. And actually, we then built our program for merge purge and was very successful in doing that. In 1988, we licensed it to American Express. We licensed it to Citibank and another greeting card company. And that was the evolution of our company.
nice.
What intrigued me was the ability to bring ROI to a client. In other words, if 98% don't buy, how could we tweak that a little bit? Because a slight improvement changes the ratio and dramatically improves the ROI. I did have a tremendous amount of mathematical exposure and modeling in my education and in working in management consulting in Shell. And I really felt that that was great opportunities to help bring that to the industry.
And Len, we're so happy you stayed in New York and didn't go to Houston because, like me, we're New Yorkers through and through. So I'm glad, and I love that background and I love that story. Len, talk to us about since 1974, and maybe I'm sure there's a few, but what was kind of a big technology shift for you, a technology pivot there so far?
Well, certainly computers have gotten so much faster. So if you mess up, you can do it so much more efficiently. Processing speeds are unbelievable. We worked on a project for the post office in my management consulting experience of how mail flowed through the United States. So it had a limit it was a 360/65. It had a limit of 8 hours of processing and then we were shut off. We then had to say we need more time. So then they made it 24 hours, and actually the job shut off again. And finally, after maybe 48 hours, the project had finished. So the computers have gotten tremendously faster. You couldn't, today on a laptop, you could store the whole United States demographics, a file, and so much other information. Processing speeds are incredible. We do a good deal of address hygiene work and we can process 20, 30 million records in under an hour through address standardization, NCOA, and often additional enhancements in that product. So the processing speeds are incredible. The size of storage has gotten much, much smaller and much less expensive. And, in the old days, if someone had 5,000 name and addresses, they needed to go to a computer shop.
Mhm.
Today, between software and hardware being available, anyone can do it. So that's some of the observations that I've observed. And certainly our cell phones that we carry have more power than a lot of the
Yeah.
computers we were using.
I know, isn't it? It's incredible. I even remember back to, I mean, I started in the industry at Direct Media. I remember, I'm sure you know Direct Media and Dave Florence and all that. And I remember the mag tape and the cartridge and how far it's become with computers and email.
Sure.
It's amazing.
We worked with Dave and very, very talented individual. We were doing merge purges when he acquired Chris Craft for him.
Wow.
We go back a while.
I figured you would. I figured you would. Len, important to our industry, right, is data. So how do you ensure data use stays responsible in today's environment and the importance of data?
Well, data is critical. I think there is too much information on the web, which is personal information. So that's a personal beef. I looked myself up. It identified my name, my age, my neighbors. You can find out my home value. I'm not active on Facebook, nor any of the other social media because, I do believe in more privacy.
Hmm.
But having data is a tremendous asset because you can better predict how people will react. So it's a tremendous plus and potentially a very large negative.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, Also, the rules and regulations in PII information are very, very complicated. They're different by state. And, the old days you had a phone book and it was not a problem.
Hmm.
Today, a name and address or an email or a social security number or an address can be identified to a person. And once you have that, you can fill in a lot of the blanks.
Yeah, it's scary if you think about it. So, Len, a couple more questions here. Of all the achievements in your career, which one are you most proud of and why?
That's a good question. I think that, acquiring a client is a great feeling, making sure they're satisfied, knowing that our bills are being paid when we send that out, being able to support our staff, and our staff has been very dedicated, several of them for many, many years. I think these are all, very satisfying feelings for us. It's the kind of business where it's often hours of frustration, but seconds of gratification that kind of make it all worthwhile. It's been a very interesting industry. It's been a very accepting industry in many ways. So we work with our competitors. We work with many different, uh, you know, brokers, agencies, end users. So it's really a fascinating business.
Yeah, it really is. I was talking to Mark, your son, about it, and the other day, and how everyone kind of works together. Frenemies as they call it, which I don't even see the enemy part there. But a lot of people work together, and it's great. And maybe they have competitive nature, but we're solving a problem for each other, and that's what I love. I've been in the industry for almost 25 years now, and I love it. So I love hearing you say that still. The future, Len, what are you excited about for the future of this industry, and what keeps you involved and going in the industry?
I think the future of the industry will be more of a multi-approach marketing, integrated marketing. But I think one of the important things will be how do people want to be communicated with? Um, I signed up to receive a catalog and I receive 3 emails per day. That's
Mm,
over the top. So I think, and some of them you can specify how often you want to be communicated, but catering more to the customer is I think important. I watch YouTube TV, and if I had looked something up an hour before, it's popping up on my screen. So, is that too intrusive? Is that more convenient? So I think it's more of trying to work with the consumer to keep them interested, motivated, and not feel like you're just throwing so much at them that it's overwhelming. I think continuing to try to find that right formula, integrating approaches, trying to bring them new information, new products. Today, it's so convenient. If you wanted some sort of specialty before, you had to identify that catalog. Now you go onto Amazon or Wayfair or whatever, and
mhm.
your selections and criteria are incredible. The other frustration, and maybe AI will help, learning more about the product. The product has a description. Very often, myself relatively being detailed, I want to know more about the product. And maybe AI will help us learn more about that to simplify our process.
Yeah, no, it's information at our fingertips, but I agree with you, Len. I always, you don't have to email me 75 times after I go to your site, right? It's a balance of that. And I always tell people, I want to let's get marketed to the way you want to be marketed to. Do you think
Right.
three touches will do it? How do you respond? This is great information. Len, we are so happy that you joined us today, the Marketing Club of New York, and I am going to be honored to present you with that award on November 13th. Come see Len Schenker, Len the legend, as I call him, and
Oh.
from Anchor Computer. Thank you so much.
I just want to ask a question. Instead of it being a silver apple, can you make it gold?
We could, right? There is a golden apple, right? But
Well,
that's for, I think, maybe 50 years of service. Which that might also, I don't know. You said you look young to me, but have you been in the industry 50 years?
I started my company in 1969, which is 56 years ago.
Wow.
I want to thank you for the award, and um, it's a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. Yeah, the golden apple in my eyes. You're golden. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Sounds great. Thank you. Looking forward.